To continue on, we know that in addition to regulating nonverbal communication, in addition to nonverbal communication regulating communication, we also know that nonverbal communication can repeat verbalization or can replicate it. As in the person who says, "I'm leaving you," and then slams the door. The door comes afterwards and it's saying, "I'm leaving," and now it's saying, this door is saying, "I'm really leaving." Also saying "I love you" followed by a kiss. That's replicating your replicating your communication with nonverbal communication. And finally, we know that as a function, nonverbal communication can substitute for verbal communication. So you go in for a job interview, your friend waits in the car, you come out, they say, "Did you get the job?" And you don't say anything, but you go. You're substituting for your verbal communication. Or when you walk up to a building and you open the door, you don't say, "Here, you go first." You open the door and then stand and wait. You're basically substituting that for saying, "Hey, you go in first, after you." Okay, now what we're going to do is come to types of nonverbal communication. The book goes into a lot more detail than I will here. One type is facial expressions. We know that we use our face in many different ways: our mouth, our eyes, our eyebrows, the way that we tilt and cock our head. Even our nose can be part of our nonverbal communication. Facial expressions give a lot of nonverbals off. And within that, we know that eye contact is very, very important. Eyes communicate emotions very deeply to others. And so eye contact is very, very important that we look at when we try and understand what a person is trying to mean. Gestures is another kind of nonverbal communication. Using your hands as something that you're talking about is coming out of you. I got to tell you this story. This is a story you won't believe. You're using your hands to tell it. That's a gesture. Gestures you can also use with your foot, like when you pretend you're going to kick somebody in the rear end. That's using your foot as a gesture. And then there is proxemics. Proxemics is the use of space. If you really get in somebody's face when you're arguing with them, you're sort of asserting that you know that you're right. If you stay back from somebody, you may be saying, I can't get near you right now because I'm going to lose it. Maybe you're saying that. We know that generally speaking that there are different zones of personal space. The intimate zone is 18 inches from your body. Those people that we're intimate with, I don't just mean sexually, I mean also that we have, really deep understanding of another person's history. We let them get within 18 inches. The zone that's known as the personal zone is from 18 inches to 4 feet. That's people that we have a personal relationship with, people we're friendly with, but not necessarily intimate. We know that the social zone is 4 to 8 people. That's, when we're in a gathering, a party, or there's a picnic or a concert, even though we can't always keep that space, at a concert separate. It's generally 4 to 8 feet. And then there's the public zone. The public zone is little privacy in that zone. That's 4 to 8 feet. Okay, and now we want to move on to territoriality. This is how we mark and defend our own nonverbal space, a place that's just for us and not for others. One is through touch. If somebody's standing too close to you, you may push them back a little bit, or if they're not standing close enough, you may bring them together. We use touch. High five with somebody, that's using touch to say, "You can come into my space." You put your hand up and they respond. You can say, "Okay, we're close enough that you can come into my space." We also use our voice to regulate our territoriality. Laughter, silence, change in tone, speeding the pace up, raising the pitch of your voice. Please don't tell them I told you. Okay, now we're using our voice to say, "I really don't want you to betray my confidence here. Hurry up, we're late." Okay, that's, putting some urgency into the situation. Sometimes we use odor to communicate. We do that when we put deodorant on or perfume. Or some people, if they fart in front of friends, are saying something about the relationship. Sometimes people don't put things on, and that is communicating a certain, "Hey, take me as I am," or "You already know who I am, so that's me." Odor can also communicate territoriality. Time is another way to communicate territoriality. You're given a job at work that you don't like, so you take your time with it. You really go slow at it. You're saying to the boss, "I am not happy that I am having to mop this floor." You're using time to do that. Or you turn a paper in late to a professor. You're saying, "I know the deadline was already passed, but wasn't my priority compared to the other things, so I'm turning it in, but I'm turning it in late. And finally, we use artifacts to mark our territoriality. This is the use of objects to mark our space. In your room, you've got posters up on your side of the wall. Maybe your shoes mark the exact halfway point between your space and the other person's space. Maybe you've got your keys and you lock the door when you go out, and you're using items, you're using objects to communicate what you consider to be your territory. Okay, so this then is going to wrap up our what turned out to be 2 video lectures on nonverbal communication and interpersonal relationships, and specifically how people come together. Now I'm going to invite you to do the 2 discussion questions to complete your assignments for the rest of tonight's class. Have a great day, and here's my nonverbal.